We'll move swiftly to Scott. He's been waiting patiently. Now, some of you will think that Karen and I can't count because I think we said you've got 6 drams, and then I think I put on social media that there were 7 drams, and you've actually got 10. And this was a bit of a surprise to us as well. If anybody hasn't looked in the bottom layer of their box from Inchdenny, you'll find drams 3 and 4. And I'll hand over to Scott, the distiller, who can talk us through them.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. Can I just say thanks to all the previous presenters, because I've been taking notes throughout all their talks, and I think it's amazing all the different ways we're all doing, such a simple spirit, as I'm always told, simple ingredients to make whiskey, but we're all doing it our own unique way. And there's some similarities that we have all of what we're doing, so I think that's fantastic. For those who don't know, Inchdenny Distillery is just based outside Glenrothes, near the little village of Kinglassie. We've been there since 2015 when the distillery was built. In amongst the pack that we sent you all, there's a little USB that maybe you've not looked at, maybe you'll look at later on. It just gives a little history, just to save a little bit of time of explaining, because some of the terminology I'm going to use might be a bit technical, but it's just to try and explain what we're trying to do. So as I said, we've been in Fife since 2015. How we make whiskey slightly different to the traditional way. We don't have a mash tun like everybody else does. We have a mash filter, and there's actually a nice picture of the mash filter in the pack. That's predominantly used for making beer. About 90% of the world beer is used in it. So that's where we're slightly different. And by having a mash filter, it means I can do different grains, which I'll elaborate a little bit later on when we talk about samples 3 and 4. But to start off with, we produce about 2 billion litres of alcohol a year. 80% of what we produce goes to our strategic partner, which is used in supporting their blends. The other 20% I get to tinker with. What we have is our Inchdenny malt that we're producing. We do 4 seasons, 4 campaigns throughout the year, under simply called spring, summer, autumn and winter, which is very similar to what Francis was saying, that he does his 2 different campaigns. We do it slightly differently. Each campaign we have, for the spring and summer, we use a spring barley, and we also use yeast specific to that campaign. And linking to what Peter was saying, we also marry the wood to the spirit. So the spirit that we get for spring and the summer are quite light, whereas the spirit we produce for the autumn and winter campaigns is a little bit heavier. And what we're trying to do is we do different cask types just to support that style of spirit that we produce. So for 2021, the campaign season for the year is going to produce 10 different styles of spirit for the year. Some of it will be years to come. So in front of you, I've got in the 4 different samples is actually 3 different styles of spirit as a starting point. So I'll talk about spirit number 1. So spirit number 1 is our Inchdenny Summer. And on the nose, the new make spirit is actually quite fruity and floral. And this is in an ex-bourbon cask. And it's been in there since 2016. We actually filled it on the 22nd of August. And on the nose, I'm going to say what it was said. The obvious one is we do get the vanilla. I still get some of the fruits coming through and a little bit of creaminess coming through. Now this is at 60.1%, so it's literally straight out the cask. What I will say is, of the 4 samples in front of you, most of them have never been tasted outside the organisation. So it's very unique to the Fife Whisky Festival this year. Something that we are passionate about and we want to support. If anybody's ever been to the festival, I'm usually stuck in the black box. So I don't get a chance to go about and see everybody else. I seem to be out of sight, out of mind, which suits some people maybe. So this one here is, as I said, this is the first drama I've had all night. I've been the last one, so I'm eventually joining in. So Slangy. So I've been interested just in the notes of what people think about it. As I said, I get it's very strong bourbon, so we're getting the vanilla notes. I also get a fruitiness to it. and I get a really good mouth texture to it. What I should say is we have no product to be released. That's why we're doing straight from the cask. And for the Inchtairney that is in the samples, we reckon it's going to be at least 12 years old. So it'll be at least 2029 before there is any malt whiskey produced or coming out of Inchtairney Distillery. And that's because we have made the decision we want to make it wait. We want to age it and get the best quality of liquid that we can actually get out of the process.
Sorry, what does that say what strength that would be, Scott? Just
well, that's just 60.1%. So that is literally straight out the cask.
yeah.
So you will need a few drops of water just to melt it out a little bit.
That's got some punch, yeah.
It has got some punch, but then sometimes you need a bit of whiskey with a bit of punch.
We've got, well, I don't know if you can see the tasting notes there. So we've
Yeah.
got lots of honeyed apricots on the palate, really intense, not too hot. I didn't find it too hot. I just found it really strong.
Yes, I think that's right. It's just that I find, I mean, as a new make spirit at the festival, we do give out some new make spirit for people to taste. And I've found of all the products we produce, all of them are quite palatable at high strength. You don't get a burning sensation with our new make spirit. And that's because the process that we have is we've got two stills that we use, a wash still at about 18,000 litres and a spirit still, but we have double condensers. We've got a lot of copper contact. We use modern technology to try and be energy efficient as we can, and we've got a lot of copper contact. And I think that really, you find that the new make spirit is quite palatable even at high strength. Yeah, apricot, fruit corn. I'm glad somebody brought that up. I get that very much on it, so that's really, really good. And yes, as distillers and everybody that's presented tonight, we're all passionate about whiskey and all passionate about our own product. And I think, as I said before, it's great to have the versatility with the Fife region. And I agree with it only being 4 years old. It's such a good flavour profile. And that's what we're trying to do by matching the new make spirit with the wood selection that we're choosing to put it in.
Can I just ask, Scott, when you're laying up casks, and are they bonded in Fife or are they bonded elsewhere?
No, all our casks are bonded on our site. At this moment in time, I've got about nearly 100,000 casks on the site.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've read recently, we've actually trying to get planning application to extend into the Westfield of the distillery to put more warehouses on it.
Fantastic. Oh, I look forward to coming to see that. I just hope the Angels aren't too greedy.
Yeah. What I should say is, like everybody else that's been on before, the malt that is used in this spirit is also Fife grown, like everybody else. We are all proud to be Fife. I mean, Fife traditionally is fantastic for barley, and so why wouldn't you use local barley? So this one here is a Fife Concerto, is what we got. So that was distilled in the 2016, as I said.
And that's the way it should be celebrated now as a region in its own right, from grain to glass almost.
Well, you just need to listen to tonight and the passion that everybody's got. I mean, and so much diversification. I think it's fantastic. I really do. So I'm going to go and I'd like to move on to the next one. I'm conscious of everybody's time, and I've got 4 samples to go through with.
Well, we're actually okay for time. We're at 9:30.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
So right. Don't need to rush too much, but if everyone's quite happy with, I think we were due to finish with questions and answers about 9:30, so we've not run over too much.
Okay.
But certainly, let's get on to number 2.
Right, okay, number 2. So number 2 is from our autumn campaign. So we filled this on the 17th of November. And I want to take a bit of time explaining this because it explains a lot about our rationale. A lot of the previous people have been talking about sherry. So for those that don't know, sherry is a fortified Andalusian wine that is in a certain, they call it the whiskey triangle, the sherry triangle, between Jerez and Santa Maria, and then on the west coast of Spain. It's a very small area, and anything outside this area, it can't be called sherry. When we were looking at casks to mature a product in, we actually stepped out of the sherry triangle. So it's actually a fortified wine, and it's an Oloroso, is it the wine that's been in it, and it's from a bodega called the Bodega Navarras, and they're in Montilla. Matea's just to the east of Seville, and it's not far outside the triangle. Murray said don't use it, but the smell, the Christmas cake smells that come out is actually tremendous. I have to apologise to my fellow presenters that you trust me, this is really, really good. I know that you didn't get the pack, but I'll try and see if I can do something and send out a pack to my fellow presenters. But on the nose, I mean, it's just Christmas cake, and then on the taste, it's just the sweetness. And what I love about this, it's just, I mean, as I said, this is only 4 years old as well. It's got such a long, beautiful finish, really good mouthfeel, really, really good. Yeah, treacle toffee on the nose, definitely.
Crunchy bars and Dundee cake as well. So.
Crunchy bars and Dundee. I mean, every time I taste it, I get something different about it. And as everybody knows, as the evening goes on and as I let air get to it, it opens it up more and more. So it's very much a drink you can keep on savouring. And each time you drink it, you're going to get something new from it.
That's lovely. Yeah, really nice.
And that there is, it's part of our autumn. And because it's autumn, what we use is we don't use spring barley, we actually use a winter barley, which is quite uncommon in the drinks industry. As I said, we've got a mash filter. The mash filter is slightly different. A traditional distillery would use a roller mill, whereas for ours, with having the mash filter, we can use a hammer mill because the filtering process takes place in the actual filter and not in the filter bed within the mash tun. That gives me a lot of flexibility with what grains I can use. So for this one here, we used a winter barley. In the winter barley, the wort was slightly cloudier, and on the new make, there's more maltiness coming through, and it's a heavier liquid. And because it's a heavier liquid, it works well with the heavier products. So for here, it's the Oloroso. So this is really, it's maturing very well, I have to say. I'm very, very proud of it.
And what ABV would that be?
Well, that one there is at 59.3%.
So a little bit less.
just ever so slightly less than what you had before.
And this is also 4 years old, did you say, Scott?
Yeah, this is also 4 years old.
Wow, that's fantastic for a 4-year-old. It's a fantastic flavour. I'm a total sherry. I just love a sherry bomb or anything like that. So for me, this is outstanding. Lovely for a 4-year-old.
So the first two we've kept it. You could almost say, with the exception of coming out of the sherry triangle, quite traditional, quite normal. We're using a bourbon. We're using the sherry. On the season that we've got here, the autumn, as I said, we use a winter barley, but we also use a different yeast again. Every season that we do, we use a different yeast because we're looking for different flavour profiles of the final liquid. So I'm now going to explain the next one, and this is where we get a bit technical, so stick with me, it will make sense. The next one is what I would call is cleric. So this is the new make spirit, but it's not new make spirit in that it's a malt. I'm actually going to take on what Vince said. This is actually a grain. This is a single grain made using rye. So this is a rye. This is what we call rye law. Ian Palmer, our managing director, went through the records, and we found in the 1908 Royal Commission, there's actually records of rye being used in Scotland to make whiskey. Now, rye traditionally is very difficult to process. It's got higher level of beta glucans, which gives bread its strength. So the process that we have in Stirling by having the mash filter, it enables us to break that down. Also, I included in your pack is for the distillation, I didn't use a traditional still. I used what we called a Lomond Hill still. And what this is, it's a pot still bottom, but on the neck it's got perforated plates. And the perforated plates you normally find in a column still. So that's where the link is with what Vince was saying with Cameron Bridge. And what that enables me to do is I can control the strength of the liquid coming off the still. It gives me quite a lot of reflux. And what it means is I get a really light liquid coming out of that still. And this is what we got here. Now, this is at 61.3%. Now, on the nose, I get fruitiness coming from it. I get floralness coming through it. And it's different. If anybody's had a malt that's a new make spirit, is a different profile. But where it really comes into the known is on the taste. So if you take a little taste, it's the spices, the rye spice really comes through. You get it on the side of your tongue. But also what is quite fascinating for us is there's a sweetness that comes out of the spirit. And no, even afterwards, there's a long finish, even with the new make spirit. No, it's not gone away. So for us, the rye law is a different approach. Inchtairney is all about flavour. And we look at the flavour on the material we use, the methodology, and also in our maturation. So for this one here, we've used malted rye and a mixture of malted barley. It's about 56% malted rye, and you can see in the flavour profile that comes out that it really is different. If you've ever tried, as I said, new make spirit, this is completely different, and it's, I think, on the nose and on the taste is really palatable, which for this, given the strength of it, is quite unique.
Sorry, Scott. Francis just asking, is it malted rye or grain rye?
No, it's malted rye. I wouldn't say that we'll not try grain rye. We have the facilities in the mash bill to do it, but for this one here, we use malted rye to get that flavour combination.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's pretty potent stuff.
It is. I mean, it's 61.3. I wouldn't normally be nosing it or tasting at that level, but just to show you how really full the liquid is, which I think, as Murray said with Gary at the distillery, you get a feeling of your DNA. Now, we do different styles of product, and we fine tune it and tweak it over the years. For the rye, we did a lot of pilot still work, and I was the one that ran the pilot still, and the flavour came out was superb. But when we actually produced the liquid in the full volume, it was just absolutely fantastic. So different from anything we'd produced or tasted before. The reason why I wanted to show you the grain as new make spirit, just to so you know what the underlying liquid is. I'd like to now move to sample number 4. Now, this is the rye law that we distilled in 2017, and it's been in a virgin oak cask, and the wood that we selected for it is from the Ozark region of America. The liquid in here, the rye we originally obtained was actually grown in the Black Isle. The sample 3, the rye is currently grown in Fife. We've now put that in place because it's quite a process yet in the colour. Now, that's a virgin oak cask. Now, that's at 59.1%. So that's been in just over 3 years.
Wow.
So there's some great floral notes coming through. There's a lot of lovely sweetness through it. You're getting the spiciness on the side of the tongue as well. And like the other liquors we produce, it's got a really long finish. The rye law will be the first product that we will release commercially from the distillery. And that's looking like it'll be later on in 2022. Wow. Will be the first product that we release from the distillery. The way that the rye is working is each year we put in a different area of wood. So it's American oak, virgin oak, but we've been choosing different regions of America just to look at the different flavour profiles that we can get. Yes, Whistle Pig, Boss Hog, very much. That's very much like that. There's a lot of differentiation within the rye. I mean, the rye that we produce here meets the definition for rye in America, but for us it's going to be a single grain produced from the rye because it's as a grain, it's underutilized, but the flavour profile, and like Vince said, Cameron Bridge has got, I'm fortunate enough to have my ex-Diageo, so I nosed and have tasted the raw Cameron Bridge as well, and I think it's an underrated product. I think grain whiskey has got so much potential, and the flavours that you can get from it is, as shown in this sample here, is so different. And how I would see drinking the sample here, I think it's so versatile. You could do it just neat over ice, or start using it in a cocktail. I think the flavour profile of it really marries up well with it.
Yeah, I think over ice is lovely.
Yeah.
And also as well, I think, Scott, your packaging that you've got just even for this pack, just to commend you on that, and to the marketing team. I spoke to Katie, and just it's fantastic. That just that little taster of Inchdearney, and a little known, you know, a lot of people go, what, who? And so it's fantastic to have that that pack out there as a you know, just as a reminder of what things are to come from you guys, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's with everybody on here, you've got to start somewhere. And you know, Peter and Murray this year, they'll be fortunate; they'll be able to produce their own stuff as it starts to see out. I'm sure Francis has been the same way. Once you start to get, you know, we're all passionate about the product that we produce, and it's very satisfying. And we've found it that it's been well presented and taken at the Five Whisky Festivals, what we're trying to achieve, and it's everybody's really proud and passionate about it being on Fife. And a lot of people are not even aware that we exist. Even people in Glenrothes, we're kind of keeping below the radar. But I think as all the different liquids is coming out, once you start and get that momentum behind you, no, that's the difficult part, as Peter's experienced. But I think the quality of liquid that are coming out in Fife is fantastic. And I think in years to come, I think it's only going to get more and more visitors to there. I mean, it's such a beautiful area to come and visit anyway. But I think from a whisky lover's point of view, I think there's so much growing and so much opportunities evolving out there. So it's only going to be positive for the area.
And in terms of cask sales, is there going to be cask sales?
Well, if we can sneakily put it into the USB, we do a cask club. Now the cask is expensive. It's probably the most expensive cask club out there. The one for last year was £12,500. So it's not, no, it's not cheap, but it's not that cask doesn't just give you the cask. The cask gives you. We do samples for you every year. It's the only way you can actually come and visit the distillery as well. We're not open to visitors. We have no plans to open for visitors. So if you want to come, and that enables you to come, you know, see your cask mature, take samples, have a lunch, meet me and the team, and then afterwards, once it's matured, we will bottle it in our unique bottle, and we will come to your home and do a tasting for you as well of your bottle of whiskey. So we want people to come on board with us. We want them to come on the journey that we're experiencing. And so far, we've had a lot of interest and a lot of uptake. But I'm sure that once we start to get the rye law out there, I think that's when we'll start to see some more of the momentum coming. I know that some people will be doing tours in the future. There's no plans to do tours in the future. I think at this moment in time, the only way you can get a tour is if you speak nicely to me and we'll take you around. We're doing a little bit more work to try and update our website as well. The brochure that we sent out with you, just to it takes time to develop a brand, a company. So that's what we've been working on. And in years to come, we'll try and bring more and more of that to the Whisky Festival.
Absolutely. I'm loving the eyes comment.
You're loving which comment, sorry?
I'm loving your eyes. Did that work? Scotch Explorer. I think that's brilliant. I think you've got a free tour, Scotch Explorer.
So for us, we because we don't supply it to the public. We don't have a product at launch. This for us is a good environment to get feedback. As the early presenters have said, whiskey is very personable, it's very emotive, and we all get things differently, and it's very good to get the positive feedback from it. And as I said at the previous Five Whisky Festival, we received really well done. But what is very interesting is we present a variety of our products, and it's so evenly split across them all. There's not one standout favourite. There's people who love only one and not the other one, which is fantastic. I think it's great. So I can't thank you, Karen, Justin, enough, because I think the Five Whisky Festival is absolutely fantastic, and the quality of the people that visit is really, really good. They're so enthusiastic, And one of the commenters put about sticking to Fife. I think the majority of people that actually do go are from Fife and are so proud about it. And they're
Absolutely. And so they should be, yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. And what's coming, I mean, if we could just have 5 distilleries at the Fife Whisky Festival, we probably would be just as, you know, it would be just as good just to have you guys, and that would be it. It would be fantastic. But yeah, it's a fantastic, I think next year will be bigger and better than what we've done before. And I think lots of things we've had time to plan a little bit better, as you guys probably will have as well. And so, yeah, next year we hope is going to be pretty phenomenal, and everyone will be desperate to get out and be there, and it'll be nice. It'll be nice for everyone.
Yeah,
just
no,
to
definitely. I mean,
celebration.
at the moment, the only Fife Whisky Festival is the only place you can actually come and taste Inchtairney spirit.
Absolutely.
We don't go anywhere else, and there's no plans at this moment in time to do that, because it's such a fantastic event. I might need to be a little bit more thought around my black box. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to maintain that.
I think it's like TARDIS. I think it'll go on forever. You just don't bring Daleks with you. That's all.
That's another whole other thing.
You just need to bring a few more folk with you so that you can get out of the black box and have a wander around.
That's something that we're going to be looking at for 2022, is the black box works to get that engagement piece, but it's how do we, and because of that is very restrictive, we can't see everybody. So we're going to be working well for those that can't come in. What can we do outside? And the team have been very good about it since we went there. But I think there's definitely scope to do a little bit more outside the box. What's very interesting is the people that come year in, year out, they come and see me first because they realise that in previous years they couldn't get in, which is very humbling that people come all the way and are very passionate about it. And very positive about our product. The 2029 will be our release of our Inchtairney malt. 2023 will be the first product, which will be the rye. And then between the rye and the Inchtairney, there'll be another 2 or 3 releases in between, but we'll tell people about them closer to the time.